Oh my God. On this episode of One Man, One Hand, and No Real Plan, this baby ain't got back. So this is the driver's door back on, and you can see at the front I have a fairly consistent gap going up and down the first seam. Now at the bottom, with the rocker panel mocked up, there's a huge gap there that I need to figure out. I mean, obviously I've got this sitting where the pieces look like they align, so I'm gonna have to mess around with it and figure out what's going on. On the rear, I'm very tight at the top on my door seam, and then it gets wider in the middle, and then it gets tight at the bottom again. Now I replaced this panel because there was a ton of rust on the old one, but I'm wondering, just looking at this, if the back of the cab may need to go up on this side and then maybe torque just a touch, just a smidgen, because that would even out all of these gaps, and it just looks low on this side to me. But I'll have to look what the other side does. I'm going to put the passenger door on and see what we've got going on there. So after looking at the gaps along the door and stuff, I realized that I probably have a back panel alignment issue. But I wanted to confirm some things about my cab before I jumped into the swimming pool. So I measured from one corner, the driver front, to the B pillar on the passenger side. And then I did the opposite measurement from the B pillar on the driver's side to the passenger front corner. They were equal. Then I measured from the left front corner to the A pillar and the right front corner to the passenger B pillar, and those measurements were equal. And finally, I measured from the A pillar to the B pillar on the driver's side and on the passenger side, and those were equal, which confirmed that I'm in fact square. So this is the driver's door again, and after taking the entire back section off, across the top is roughly where the gap, that's really close to what the actual gap is supposed to be. And so I'm going to measure down to the rocker panel, and I need to maneuver that so it's actually where it should be, and figure out why we're long. So after quite a bit of fiddling, I was able to move stuff around. Now there is some damage to that bottom door, and I think the skin will take up that gap. But you can see that's probably just a little too tight. So after a lot of fitting and measuring, what I figured out is that when I put these patch panels on, I put them on too low for the body panels to all line up with the rocker panels and everything, and that's what was making that gap. I'm going to remove these panels, and I'm going to fix all the little dents and stuff that I can get to while I'm working on it, and get each corner installed, get everything lined up with the doors exactly how it's supposed to be now that I know all that stuff's working properly. And once those are in place, I will go ahead and bolt together the rear of the cab, the bottom panel and the top panel, and then we can start to finish the patch panel for the lower rear cab panel, as well as put these panels back on where they actually go. So that's what we're going to do now. One of the issues with the panel fitment is that all of the panels don't have, I don't know if that'll show up, but I need to square up and clean up all of these edges. The back of the cab has this rounded trim on several of the panels. One's a little bit smaller diameter, and this one's a lot smaller diameter and tighter roll, where this one is a flatter roll and wider. So I got some round bar and welded it to some square tubing, and one's a little tighter, and you can see the difference there, hopefully. And the other one's flatter and bigger. And I'm hoping that I can work this out and level it out and be a lot smoother. And there's some other issues I've got going on. You can definitely see it there where it is not flat. Like that back corner over there is much higher. And even it's wavy as it goes across. So I've got to get some panel straightening done and try and shrink it up a little bit and fix it to where it actually is flat and square and true, and then go forward. One thing I will say is the way this rear window lip is because they had a wooden frame that went all the way around it. Obviously I'm not using that, and so I think what I'm going to try and do is just fold this over, because I have a nice lip. You can probably see it. There's a real thick and sturdy lip right here, and I think I'll put it's a gasket that would slide over the whole thing like that all the way around to hold the window in, and we'll just go from there. The other thing that using a vise like this is I can angle it and balance it to stand where I want it, and then I could even just put a little pressure on it, and this one got sucked in so much at one point that it's really warped that hole, and this bottom panel has that all the way across. So I'm trying to straighten all that out. Using this rod as an indicator, you can see just how open it is. So I'm going to slide it to the edge and start tapping it back towards where it needs to be. You can see how much we gained by pushing that hole down and then using the round bar of the right diameter and shape to shape it back to it. Just got to do every hole next. So when I'm pushing down, I have the dolly right here in the middle, and so when I'm pushing down, I have it like this is the dolly, and this is the problem with the metal, is this part back here is up and this part was up and this part is down. So I put the dolly right here and I'm pushing on the outside to try and bring that center section up, and I am going just a smidge past it to try and get it to settle square. But that's what I'm trying to do with the dolly sitting right here, and just putting a little bit of pressure, is to take those high spots and flatten them out like that so that it's just a flat panel. I'm scared that it's been this way for so long, it may never get true, but I mean, it's almost 100 years old, so it's allowed to have some marks and some scars. I don't know if you can, well, I think it's pretty obvious what the difference of just doing some basic repair. Now it's torn here, so it doesn't have the strength to hold itself down, but I don't have to, all I have to do is just set my hand on it and it stays flat. Look, I found some nuts. That shows you how it basically goes together and why fitment and stuff is so difficult, because where seams are good, you have nice fit and you have a tighter radius that goes into a little bit wider one, and they all fit nice and neat. But then when you come up here to a more heavily damaged, you can see how far apart everything is, because it just doesn't fit like it's supposed to anymore. And the same thing with, like, that's the washer right there on the back side, because it's so damaged that it doesn't sit in the trough exactly like it's supposed to. And there was a lot, I mean, it wasn't super perfect fit even brand new, but it's a difficult thing to figure it out. But one thing I did notice is, after doing all the straightening and stuff, the holes line up much better. So I feel like we're getting a much better fit overall together.